Hi everyone, and welcome to day 25-26. I was really sneaky and I didn't post a video yesterday because I really didn't know what to talk about. And I thought, whatevs. So today, this morning, as all Saturday mornings, pretty much, I'm reading out questions on Bart's channel, the Nutrition Science Watchdog. And we always get this question about how bad is pork? Can I eat pork? What's the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio? Isn't it better to not eat pork? And so on. And Garland Farms made a comment about that pork, when it's pasture raised, is actually pretty much spot on ratio-wise. And I've always had the impression that no matter what, pork is actually, compared to cows and sheep, pork is always higher in omega-6. So I went to look this up and I found a very small study that they've done. There's not many pigs involved, but it's still kind of an indication of where we're at. So I thought I would show you this. But before I show you the results, what they did was they had their pigs. They were all out in the wild on wild pasture, and they divided them into 3 groups. One group was fed 100% grains, and what that meant was they were given grains, and the grains were considered to be complete nutrition for the pigs. So if they had eaten nothing else than the grains, they would be fine. And then one group had 50% grains and the rest was forage. And then one group, they were not given any grains at all. They did, let's see, I have the study up here. They did supplement those pigs with, I think it was lysine and something else. Now, I'm not really sure why they did this, but that increased the cost of raising those pigs tremendously. So whether that is actually necessary or not, I don't really know, because I'm not really into pig farming. So if anyone actually knows, feel free to post a comment about it and enlighten everyone else. And then they also went to the supermarket and they got some pork chops from there to analyze and compare with the results that they had. So this is what they found. So this table, I'm going to post a link to this study in the description for this video so that you can go and look it up if you want. But this table is the results basically. So the store-bought pigs, so I'm just going to go down to the highlighted one, or the pink column at the bottom, which says store-bought pig to the right is 29.4, so that's the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. If you were looking or if you were watching my liver versus eggs video, you probably heard me say that the ideal omega-6 to 3 ratio is somewhere around 4:1, maybe 3:1, something like that. So 29.40:1 is not anywhere near that, clearly. The pasture-fed pigs that were fed 100% grains had 13.84. 50% grains 9.88, and grain-free 5.15, which is actually really close. And I was surprised, I must say, because I was a little bit skeptic when Garland Farms told us that. And as you can hear, the neighbor decided to mow the lawns, so there's lots of background noise. I hope it's not too distracting for you. So anyway, the problem here, as I see it, is that when I go anywhere and I buy pasture-fed pork, I have no idea whether they are fed 100% grains, 50% grains, or if they're totally grain-free, because it never says. It just says pasture-raised. So when you're buying pasture-raised pork, you can get anything from, a ratio of 5:1 to 14:1, about in those kind of numbers. So that's a trade-off, I guess. But even so, when we were looking at eggs, they're 15:1. It's not ideal, but it's all right. When you're buying, it's the same thing. If you have a grass-fed cow that has been grain finished, you're going to have a much worse ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. So I'll just show you the other data just quickly because you might be interested in that as well. But here is just the sample size, which isn't big at all. But the number of pigs that they actually sent for analysis was 9, 8, and 4 when it comes to grain-free, 50% and 100% grains. How many days of production it took, and funnily enough, the 50% grain pigs were the quickest. And they must have been bigger, is my conclusion, because their average daily gain per pig 100% grain-fed and very close to the grain-free. And then when you look at the actual weight when they... It sounds bizarre to harvest pigs, but that's the wording they have used. But the 50% reduced grains are also the very lightest pigs, so I don't really know why they chose those. And there is another table as well, just put this one up as well. So here's the cost per raising these pigs. So what we're probably interested in is the feed per pound of gain, because that's how the farmers are getting paid. And the 50% grain-fed pigs are on $0.48 per pound, and 100% grain-fed is $0.53, versus the grain-free, which are $1.27 per pound. So they are considerably more expensive to raise, but that is all due to the supplement feed cost per pig. So whether those supplements are necessary or not, I have no clue. But let's say that they weren't. If they were not, it would be extremely cheap to actually raise pigs naturally without any grains. But yeah, I would appreciate any input from any pig farmers that might just happen to watch this channel for whatever reason, because that would be interesting to know. So, what I want to say is that if you are going to eat pork, you are always going to be so much better off choosing a pasture-fed pig compared to a non-pasture-fed, the pigs that are kept indoors that are only eating grains. Because even when they eat grains, when they're outdoors, they get to eat whatever bugs and vegetables, roots, whatever they find. And this is obviously going to have a very beneficial change in the fatty acid profile, even if they fed the grains outside. So if you can get a pig that is pasture raised, I would always go for that. But what I am actually going to do now is that I'm actually going to contact the people that are supplying my the meat that I buy, and I'm going to ask them if they know whether these pigs have been grain fed, because I know they're pasture fed and I know that they're raised outdoors, but I don't know how much grains they're actually fed. I suspect that it might vary a little bit with the seasons as well, because in winter there might be less bugs for the pigs to eat, so they might need more grains. And in that case, maybe we should buy all our pork in spring and summer and then actually freeze it to get a better fatty acid profile. It's just a thought. Obviously you need some freezer space, so you need to pay for the electricity and so on, and whether you think that is worth it or not, that's totally up to you. But that's just my 2 cents on this whole debate, and I just want to say that I'm actually a little bit surprised about how good the omega-6 to 3 ratio is when we're not feeding any grains to those wild hogs. So go for it, eat your pork crackling, eat your pork belly, your ribs and your pulled pork, and make sure that it's pasture fed. And hopefully I will see you again tomorrow. Take care.